as great as the American so-called Negro. We hate ourselves.
Right! That's right!
Because of the teachings and the trainings of our slave master.
Yes, sir!
Who put one of us against the other.
When Elijah Muhammad spoke, the black poor listened.
Your slave master and all of his children are none other than the devil.
Elijah Muhammad referred to the United States as the wilderness of North America because his people had nowhere to go and no one to turn to until he was sent by Allah to wake up America's sleeping blacks by teaching them Islam. According to Muhammad, Islam was the true religion of black people before they were stripped of it by their slave masters and forced to become Christians. He taught his followers that the white man's heaven was the black man's hell.
There's no such thing as you are going to die and one day come up out of the earth meeting your friends that also died before you. I said, get out of that slavery teaching. That's the white man's teaching to keep you blind, deaf, and dumb to the knowledge of self.
According to the nation's history, Elijah Muhammad got his teachings from this man, a silk peddler, who claimed to be Allah in the flesh. The two of them met in the ghetto of Detroit in 1930, and that's where they began the Nation of Islam. Times were hard, so they attracted their first members by promising them more prosperous lives.
The first teachings that the ministers were given, and all of them knew it by heart, I knew it by heart, says, if you will accept Allah in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and his messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and become a Muslim and support this Nation of Islam, that Allah has promised you that he will give you money, plenty money, good homes, and friendship in all walk of life. This was the teaching. This was the opening. This was the bait.
Elijah Muhammad used all the bait he could to fish dead blacks out of the grave of North America, so he opened businesses to lure those who needed jobs.
So we used a lot of tricks to get them to come there. And we told them if they were poor, say, look, we got jobs. So we make jobs for our people. And we did.
The nation also provided education of a very basic nature for its adult members. Elijah Muhammad referred to the minds of his people as baby minds, because under slavery, their minds had never been developed.
One of the most important things that the messenger taught us was taking a bath at least once a day. A lot of us, before we accepted Islam, took a bath on the weekends. And that was mostly under the arms. They call it a pigeon bath. I was a soldier in the Nation of Islam and very militant. Matter of fact, I can show you a picture, I have it up here, of myself.
Yeah, which one is it?
This is a picture here of me with the bow tie on. Usually everybody could recognize a Muslim by the bow tie, the clean cut suits. Would you like to see my uniform?
Yeah, I'd love to.
I put this uniform on, I said, all praises to Allah. Because, you know, everybody wanted to get into the uniform, you see.
How did it make you feel when you...
Oh, I felt proud. I wanted everybody to see me, and, you know. And when people saw me coming down the block with my uniform, you know, they said, where you going, brother? I said, I'm going to the mosque. You ought to come with me, you know. Here it is. There it is. Boy.
How did you stand then?
I stood just like this when I stood post in the mosque, and we were very serious. You know, very serious.
What was the look for? The serious look?
Oh, that was the look. If you look at a Muslim boy, he would scare you because he had that look. And if you would have got up out of one of those seats to go against the minister, that would be the last you would learn a lesson because they would put a hurting on you.
The men who joined the nation were known as the Fruit of Islam. They learned how to be soldiers for their cause in Fruit of Islam class.
That class had a lot of influence on us. To see all of the brothers that live all over the city coming to one place. What they taught us was that we had been taking orders from Caucasians all of our lives. Now it's time to take orders from black men. We would all fall in. And if we didn't fall in, we'd fall in. And if we didn't fall in right, you see. He said, fall back out, get back over there, what do you think you're doing? We would get back over, you know, fall in, we would come back, fall in. And if we did it right that time, he said, okay. He said, left piece, right piece, original salute. And some brothers, they didn't do the original salute the way they should do it, you know. They would have their hand up here. He'd walk up to the brother and ball him out, just like in the army, you know. Get that hand right, brother, what kind of army do you think you're in? The brother, you know, just like that, you know. So we would come back ready front, and we would drill up and down the floor and whatnot, and it would sound so nice because we would all be in the same step, you know. For the hat step, hot, hip, ho, hip, ho, hip, ho, hip, ho, through here, ha. By the left flank, hard, left flank, hard.
Any Muslim who was big enough to walk was big enough to drill. Without discipline, black people would never learn how to do for themselves, and Elijah Muhammad did not want his followers depending on the white man. He felt that blacks had been begging the white man for too long. So when other blacks marched for integration, Elijah Muhammad preached separation.
I say again, and I hope that I could say this, and that the whole world of human being could hear it. Never to want to marry white people. If the Ku Klux Klan want to keep their race white, I say, help yourself. Go to it. Now, when I say I want to keep mine black, Ku Klux Klan, keep your mouth out of it.
Elijah Muhammad's followers were openly critical of Martin Luther King's approach to civil rights.
The Muslims don't believe in forcing themselves in neighborhoods where we're wanted. But anybody who sticks a dog on us is a dog himself. And we'll get the four-legged dog as well as the two-legged dog.
You know, and I know how much this people hates me. For what? Because I teach you the truth. That's all. They know that I'm doing a better job with you than any one ever appeared among you.
Elijah Muhammad's teachings did not arouse fear until the number of his followers began growing. Then both blacks and whites accused him of teaching hatred for white people coupled with black supremacy. Malcolm X, the most popular black Muslim in the early 1960s, defended his leader and teacher.
Mr. Muhammad's entire approach is to restore to the black man a knowledge of himself, a knowledge of his people, his cultural roots. And by doing this, this restores his racial identity, his racial dignity, his confidence as a race, racial confidence in his own kind. And when he gets this self-confidence, he's then able to stop blaming and begging the white man and is then able to stand on his own feet.
Others were calling Elijah Muhammad's Muslims a worse threat to the country than communism. And the FBI listed the Muslims as a black nationalist hate group and kept them under constant surveillance. But by the time Elijah Muhammad passed away, the country's mood had changed, and Americans praised the 137-pound Muslim leader for having built a nation from scratch.
He was the father of black self-consciousness. During our colored and Negro days, he was black.
4 producer Sharon Sulphur met with the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad, the new leader of the Nation of Islam. Our exclusive series of reports that came out of that meeting continues tonight with a profile of the new Muslim leader. Wallace Muhammad inherited his position the day after his father, Elijah Muhammad, passed away. Muslim believers had no difficulty accepting their new leader, but the press did. One reporter described Wallace Muhammad as a mild-mannered postal clerk of the 1940s who wasn't tough enough to keep rank-and-file members from fighting among themselves for power. The most powerful and popular Muslims fired back at the reporter's typewriters by pledging allegiance to their new leader.
There's no leadership crisis in the Nation of Islam. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the royal family of Muhammad, and the Nation of Islam have chosen Minister Wallace D. Muhammad as the spiritual and administrative leader of the Nation of Islam.
The soft-spoken new leader was quick to test the loyalty of his followers. He marked off the 43 years his father had ruled and labeled them the first resurrection. He kicked off the second resurrection by giving the nation a facelift. He opened up membership to Caucasians. He gave the sisters permission to stay out after dark. Malcolm X could no longer be referred to as a hypocrite. Believers could boogie in public. Elijah Muhammad ran the nation like a military leader. He issued orders, and the believers were expected to follow those orders, no questions asked. His son changed that. He introduced democracy into the nation by creating a national decision-making board. 7 regional ministers sit on the board as representatives of the grassroots level believers in the 200 mosques scattered throughout the United States.
We're failing to communicate with the people as we should communicate with the people. The people don't know enough about what we're doing.
The chief minister began his policy of telling the believers the facts 1 year after taking office, when he destroyed the myth that the nation was an $80 million empire. According to him, the businesses were in millions of dollars of debt. He decided to sell all of the nation's businesses, except their newspaper and the fish importing operations. According to the chief minister, he made the decision for spiritual as well as economic reasons.
Many ministers were big investors in the local businesses. And what it did was took ministers from their spiritual life and made many of them just business people. And I mean business people in the worst way. People that couldn't talk spiritual development before thinking about dollars.
On August 22nd, 15,000 Muslims rendezvoused in Atlanta, Georgia for something new. An interfaith, interracial community meeting sponsored and organized by their leader and teacher, Wallace D. Muhammad. The mayor of Atlanta welcomed the chief minister to his city.
I think we should applaud the Nation of Islam and all of the cooperating organizations and religions for the attempt at oneness.
The chief minister has been appearing at meetings like this to gain wider acceptance among non-Muslims who still view the nation as an army of black militants ready to destroy white America. The Atlanta meeting was not very successful in attracting outsiders.
There is not the level of biracial activity that I'm sure all of us would want to have seen, but understand one thing, that you made the attempt. You did not close the door. It is not your fault.
Politicians are giving more recognition to the nation as it continues moving into the mainstream. Mayor Beam appointed a commissioner as the liaison between the city of New York and the nation. The commissioner takes community leaders on tours of the local mosque as a part of his official duties.
I think the amazing thing you're going to see, Monsignor, is that dead center in the middle of Harlem, of the ghetto area, where there's devastation almost. There are junkies. It's junkie haven, a block of either side. In the middle of this is this jewel, you may say. And here you're going to see stores immaculately clean. You're going to see people who are completely dedicated to self-help, to pride.
Reversing the whole time.
Reversing the entire tribe.
Commissioner Walsh weds non-Muslim and Muslim in hopes of creating a better New York. He believes the Muslims have the remedies for many of urban America's social ills. The chief minister engineered the concept for a new community action program called the Blight Arrest Pioneer Patrol, a fleet of security-trained Muslims who respond to distress calls from neighbors in trouble.
Check on those other doors around the east side.
Base to 2250. Come in 2250.
Base to you, 2250, back to base, go ahead, base.
You have an emergency call, 1037.
2250 over.
Why teach that you shouldn't sin and sinners are going to hell and let the community go to hell under just ignorance?
Wallace Muhammad is interested in making the world a better place for everybody who lives in it. His father was only interested in improving conditions for himself, his family, and his followers. In 1972, Elijah Muhammad withdrew $2 million from his personal gift account and built this palace for himself and a miniature palace for each one of his sons and daughters. The chief minister took producer Sharon Sofer on a walking tour of his father's palace.
He wanted something for his people to see, that he had really achieved something of the material heaven on earth. So what you see here in this palace is the dream came true for the late Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, as you know, I don't live here, and it's not because I don't respect his dream. I do have a lot of respect for his dream. This was his dream, not my dream.
The chief minister won't ride in anything other than this black Pontiac, even though the nation does own several limousines. He despises anything flashy, dismissing it as pop and glitter.
When I came into office, I asked all the ministers to get rid of their diamond rings, get rid of your stick pins, don't wear furs, don't wear minks. I said, if you wear those things, you better keep them hid from me, because if I see them, you're going to lose your position. And I had the followers backing me. They supported that because they don't like to see their monies, donations going to make somebody look like a superfly pimp.
The chief minister lives in this middle-income neighborhood on the south side of Chicago, where homes range in price from $25,000 to $35,000. His home is comfortable, but not luxurious. In keeping with his modest lifestyle, the chief minister frequently does the family cooking. It's cheaper than taking the family out to eat, and it's something he enjoys, because it's a break from the responsibility of being the leader of a nation in transition.
I'm not here to breathe air and eat food and drink water and good drink and wear these clothes and ride around in cars and have relationship with my wife and my children. I'm not here for that. I'm here to serve truth, and only one truth. That's Allah's truth.
On February 26th of 1977, Wallace Muhammad will call for a vote of confidence from his followers, but that doesn't keep him from being critical of them. He chastises weak Muslims by calling them sissies.
Don't be afraid of the sissies. They don't frighten me. Right up here, you got sissies. Right up here, there are sissies. I don't have to identify them. You know some of the sissies that sit up here. In every mosque leadership, you got some sissies. Now, who are you going to follow, me or the sissies? All right. Allahu Akbar.
An exclusive series on the Nation of Islam present a profile of one family who have lived on 119th Street in Harlem for the past 20 years. Ease on up to Harlem any Saturday night, and this is what you'll find at the Rasulullah home on 119th Street. Good, clean family fun. It's a main ingredient of the Muslim way of life. There are 3 generations of Muslims in this family: grandparents, their 7 sons and daughters, including this one, doing her impression of Dorothy in The Wiz, and the 17 Rasulullah grandchildren, a total of 32 registered Muslims. The grandfather was the first member of the family to accept Islam. He became a soldier in the nation's army in 1954. For the past 22 years, Brother James has been in charge of the body check room at the mosque. And for almost the same number of years, he's been selling the nation's newspaper. Every Saturday, he delivers the word of Muhammad to his regular customers.
I couldn't provide for my family. I couldn't live in the community. I couldn't have the things I have today unless Allah wasn't with me and didn't bless me.
Each member of the family had personal reasons for joining the nation. A daughter-in-law explains why she decided to raise her daughter as a Muslim instead of a Christian.
She began going to church. And in most black churches that I had attended, it was always the, whenever you see a picture of Christ or an angel or whatever, it was always Caucasian, white or white. So one day we were standing at the corner from my house at a newsstand, and this white Caucasian came up. He had long hair, and he had beard on his face and mustache. So she was so excited when she saw, you know, this Caucasian come up. All of a sudden she looked up, you know, and she says, "Mommy, Mommy," and I could tell, you know, by the, you know, the excitement in her voice, you know, that it was something important. I said, "Well, what is it?" You know, I said, "What?" "Look, Mommy, look, there's Jesus," you know. So she thought it was Jesus that had walked up, and you know, and I mean, and I could see this, you know, this love, this compassion that she had for this man, you know, and he was a stranger, was a hippie, you know. So that was one of the main things that woke me up, and I began to realize the association. I said, well, she sees Jesus or the picture of Christ in, you know, the Caucasian and a white person. So I said, well, if she has all this love for a white, you know, this picture for Jesus in this image of being white or whatever, I said she should have this for herself, you know.
Some of the younger children didn't like the nation at first.
At 12 years old, I had got a little taste of the church life. And even though I really wasn't deep into it, I thought maybe it was kind of right. So I had vowed to myself that when I turned 18, that I wouldn't say anything to my parents, but I would leave the nation and go back to church or go back to wherever I thought was right. But at the time when I got to about 14 years old, 15, I started realizing that Islam was what I really wanted. Because out in the street, you would see young girls my age, they were having babies, you know, not married. They would get on dope, you know, they would die from overdose. And partying and all that. You know, this is something that I really didn't want to get into.
This daughter and two of her sisters met their husbands at the nation's mosque in Bermuda. None of them are having marital problems. She attributes the success of their marriages to the teachings of Islam, which encourages men to protect their wives, physically and financially. This family is typical of the average Muslim family because all of the adult members are married and they are all employed. Nobody is on welfare. Muslims believe in self-development, so they frown on anyone who relies on handouts from the government.
And I do confess my faults.
Prayer is one of the 5 pillars of the Islamic religion. Every Muslim family is supposed to begin and end each day with prayer. It's a way of unifying the family.
There is no God but thou. Thou art my Lord against all my... I feel that it's imperative that my children say their prayers in the morning. I have been greatly... Well, as the old saying goes, a family that prays together stays together.
Mommy, I'm getting ready to go to school.
I feel the security that Allah will guide them in the right direction where they will get to their destination safely. When they go out in the morning, they're going out with peace on their mind, with love on their mind. I feel that it may generate some vibrations so that when they go with peace, they will receive peace also.
Sound the Muhammad, break it on down. M-U-H-A-M-M-A-D, mark. Left face, left face, left face.
All of the Rasulullah women were members of the Muslim training classes for girls. There they were taught drilling, discipline, and the proper conduct for the Muslim woman.
Original salute. Ready, front.
They taught us no sex before marriage. So.
You plan to abide by that until you're married?
Yes. I do.
When they were coming up, there's no men ever to touch them at all my sisters. And that's beautiful.
Deborah, was there peer pressure on you when you were growing up as a Muslim to have sex or any of these things other kids were doing?
You hear a lot about partying and you wanted to participate sometimes, but then you go back and think on what you were taught, you know. You say, well, I'm a Muslim and I'm going to say this and this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, you know.
Where did you find the strength?
Well, the strength was planted. It was already in me. I didn't have to find it, you know. It was already here.
Why are you crying, Mrs. Rasulullah?
Well, I'm very proud.
Go ahead.
I'm very proud to hear my daughter sit there and talk, and it makes me feel good that she bearing witness that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, may the peace and blessing be upon him, and now the Chief Minister, Wallace D. Muhammad, has taught us. And it makes me feel wonderful that she have that mind, and I really didn't know that was in her, but it came out.
And I can say all praise is due to Allah, that I think she will be a good, strong mother and a wife. And I thank Allah for Deborah and her husband. She have a wonderful husband, and Deborah was always very close to me, and I was kind of skeptical of her getting married because I didn't think she, you know, would ever get a husband that was as close to her as her father. But I thank Allah that she got a husband, almost, I can say, like my husband, like her father.
Join us tomorrow night here for a television first as our cameras go inside several Muslim mosques to film the nation's Muslims in prayer, seen before on television. Before observed by the nation of Islam, but the nation is changing. So this year the Muslims are recognizing Thanksgiving. In keeping with this new spirit, the nation opened the doors of its mosque to us so we could film their believers of prayer, something never seen before on television.
My holy name is Mehdi. It means rightly guided, and my father gave it to me.
My name is Jamal Amir Muhammad, and the name means Jamal means handsome, Amir means prince, and Muhammad means worship of praise. And I loved the names he gave to me, and so I like to keep them.
Why do you like these names better?
Because I didn't like the slaves' names. They didn't sound right. These ones sounded just right on me.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Little by little, Wallace Muhammad is revamping the homegrown version of Islam his father introduced. By Christmas of 1977, all of his followers are supposed to replace their slave, or X names, with holy names, another step in bringing more of the East to the West. As one Muslim put it, the master, Elijah Muhammad, grew us up as human beings, so his son could grow us into Islam.
I boast that I follow Orthodox Islam, if you mean by Orthodox, the original teachings of Prophet Muhammad, to whom the Holy Quran was revealed about 1,400 years ago. I boast that I follow it better than anybody I know. I don't think it's followed in Mecca better than I follow it.
Every Friday afternoon, the nation's 200 mosques fill up with believers answering the call to prayer. This particular prayer is called Jummah, which means community prayer. The entire world population of Muslims, about 600 million, make Jummah at the same time. It's their way of expressing unity and brotherhood. Until a few months ago, the nation's 70,000 Muslims couldn't participate in Jummah prayer because they didn't know how to prostrate themselves to Allah properly. This was the only way they knew to pray, the way they had been taught by Elijah Muhammad. So before they could join the rest of the world's Muslims for Jummah prayer, they had to be taught.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.
This man is an imam, a religious scholar appointed by the chief minister to school the nation's followers in Islam.
Hayya al-falah. You should say Hayya al-salat, right? Hayya al-salat, like that. Hayya al-salat, okay? Then Hayya al-falah, you turn to the left, okay?
Prayer is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It's the Muslims' way of giving thanks and praise to their God, Allah. Muslims respect and enforce their own laws. The seed of discipline is planted in them at birth. So by the time they reach this age, they're accustomed to the Muslim way of life. Frisking each other for weapons at school is second nature to them.
They've been trained, you know, to search anyone coming into the mosque, search anyone coming into the school, and it's a measure that's been built into them.
The Muslim society has a tradition of rules and regulations which govern the behavior of anyone who becomes part of it. For example, those who attend mosque meetings must submit to a body check. In Chicago, it's a simple matter of walking through a metal detector. In New York, mosque visitors are searched by registered Muslims appointed to the post by the minister. Before entering the mosque, all shoes must be removed. The mosque is the house of God, a place of worship. So Muslims don't want visitors carrying the filth of the earth into the mosque on the bottoms of their shoes. It's the duty of every Muslim in the mosque to recruit new believers. It's called fishing. This brother is the master fisherman of New York City. He pulls as many as 100 new believers off these streets every month with his raft.
My name is Muhammad Bilal. What's your name? Bobby. You ever been to the mosque before? Nobody never invited you? I'm inviting you, man. What's happening tomorrow? What you doing tomorrow? What you doing about 1 o'clock? Dig it. I'm not trying to convert you, brother. All I want you to do is listen, all right? If you dig it, you squat. If you don't, you get up and split. A good-looking woman like you make a good Muslim. Yeah, that's so? Right. Huh?
You think so?
Most definitely so. Why don't you come on and pay us a visit?
I can't right now.
Not right now. Tomorrow, dear.
Tomorrow? What time tomorrow?
1 o'clock, and I'll give you an invitation, and I'll be standing out here, and I'll be glad to escort you inside myself.
Those who become believers in Islam in one of the nation's mosques become part of the world community of Muslims. The nation's believers are allowed to visit the holy city, Mecca. They can kiss the holy black stone at the Kaaba. They can stone the devil. They can make Hajj, the Muslims' pilgrimage. The chief minister has made 3. So far this year, Nation Business has taken the chief minister to Libya, Turkey, the People's Republic of China, and Guyana, South America. We accompanied the chief minister on his state visit to Guyana, a socialist country with a Muslim population of 120,000.
The Honorable Wallace Muhammad is a distinguished personage. He is also the head of an important and significant faith in the Western world, devotees of which we have here, and a faith for which we have the greatest respect.
Guyana's Prime Minister Burnham himself greeted the chief minister right at the front steps of his official residence in Georgetown.
Long time no see, man.
They've been personal friends since they first met in 1972. Producer Sharon Sofer was granted an exclusive interview with Prime Minister Burnham.
Is the Nation of Islam inspiration for the black people of Guyana?
Well, I think it's an inspiration for any downtrodden and oppressed people. What they have been able to do amongst the blacks is a lesson for all of us who have been oppressed or who are threatened with oppression.
Guyana is rich in resources like bauxite, shrimp, and diamonds, but its people are poor. Guyana's industries have been under foreign rule since the 18th century. According to a report by the Guyanan government, Canada exported $1 billion worth of bauxite from Guyana in a 53-year period, but only 1.3% of that whole $1 billion stayed in Guyana. In 1971, Guyanans ousted the Canadian industrialists and nationalized its bauxite industry in hopes of improving the standard of living for its citizenry. Islam has a long history in Guyana, but the nation didn't establish its mosque there until 1973. Until the chief minister made this visit, the other Muslim sects had never come together for prayer as a community. He united the Muslim sects and encouraged them to forget their differences so they could aid in the development of their country.
You don't have any threatening false gods in Guyana. You are still on the path of human development. In this part of the world, there is no real need to come in and destroy before building, but in most of the world, there's a need to destroy before building, because the whole life has become false. The people have nothing real that they're holding on to. But in these parts of the world they call the undeveloped lands, there is hope for you to continue to grow without facing the great judgment.
Join us here tomorrow night for the continuation of our exclusive series on the Nation of Islam for a visit with 108 Muslims behind bars at a prison in upstate New York. You've heard people being so ugly they could stop traffic. Well, check this. There is a dog and has registered members in 210 prisons throughout the United States, a total of 12,000 Muslims. The interesting thing is that only about 5 to 10% of all these people were Muslims before they went to jail. The rest were recruited after they got there. Today in our continuing series on the Nation of Islam, we visit Muslim inmates at Clinton Prison.
I don't need to go nowhere, but I think I'm free. I'm already free. If Allah sets me free, that's it.
In the folds of hilly upstate New York, large numbers of inmate Muslims are locked away from everything but their God, Allah. Only 10 years ago, New York's Commissioner of Corrections resisted the court decision that made it a right for Muslims to practice their religion behind bars. He claimed that Muslim inmates would create discipline problems, but apparently he was wrong. Today, administrators who run the prisons cite Muslims as model prisoners.
If all inmates followed the precepts of their religion as closely as the Walid Muhammad inmates are apparently following, they wouldn't have any prisons.
This inmate is the minister for the 108 registered Muslims in Clinton Prison. He's serving 20 years to natural life for the assassination of Malcolm X. 10 years ago, Muslims weren't very popular with anybody inside the institutions. The other inmates referred to them as robots because they weren't allowed to play sports or mix with non-Muslims. But things have changed since the leadership switched hands from Elijah Muhammad to his son Wallace. The captain of this football team, number 53, is the assistant minister of the inmate Muslim population at Clinton.
There was a time when Muslims didn't play or participate in football because at that time we were in a more rigid-like environment. This is one of the reasons why most of the brothers now love the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad so much, because he's given us the opportunity to show that we can participate in anything anybody else do and still be Muslims and carry ourselves in an orderly fashion and uphold that pure righteous banner.
Before 1963, the Islamic religion practiced by the black Muslims was not recognized as a true religion, so ministers from the outside were not allowed inside the prisons. Today, 2 Muslim ministers are on the New York State payroll as official chaplains. The state-paid Muslim chaplains counsel their religion's inmate prisoners, so the Islam being taught inside the prisons is the same Islam that's being taught on the outside. At one time, the Islam practiced by inmates was a jailhouse version.
In the early 50s, of course, we were not getting any visitors from the outside. It was something the inmates, were getting up on their own. Their teachings were considered radical. They were considered a threat to the security of the facility. Gradually, the influence from the outside has had a very leveling, mellowing effect, and I believe this has made a great deal of difference.
The change in the attitude and the behavior of the Wallace D. Muhammad group since he took over.
Once a month, the superintendent meets with the inmate minister of the incarcerated Muslims for a no-holds-barred exchange.
I don't think you're aware of what took place a couple weeks ago. I'm almost certain you're not. We had 56 guests that was invited from reception, and about 20 Caucasian brothers were not allowed to participate. And I just thought maybe, that I would bring it to your attention now that I have the opportunity,
Well, it's a policy when the services are held during Saturday or Sunday or during non-program hours, that anyone can attend who indicates that they want to go.
They felt kind of bad about it.
Muslims are the largest organized inmate group in Clinton, and that gives them power. And the fact that they're serious also makes them powerful.
I want to speak about religion, history, and continents. We're going to have to be very versed.
Clinton's yard is unique. It looks more like a hobo camp than a prison facility, with tin can smokestacks reaching up to the sky and monogrammed birdhouses. Clinton's yard contains 336 courts, each identified by a number. Every court is the property of a specific group of inmates who have homesteaders' rights to their plot of ground. Stepping foot on somebody else's court without first getting permission is a violation of inmate etiquette and can lead to serious trouble. The activity on the courts varies with the personalities of the owners. The Muslims control 19 of the 336 courts. They spend all of their time studying, sometimes Arabic, sometimes the Holy Quran, their Bible. The only thing Muslims are not allowed to do in the yard is proselytize, but this doesn't keep the Muslim ranks from growing. When the call to prayer is given at the Muslims' weekly meeting, their makeshift mosque is jammed with brothers, ready to give all praises to Allah. Only 3 of the 108 Muslims at Clinton were registered members of the religion before they were imprisoned. Most Muslims behind bars accepted Islam after they got there. That's the way it is all across the country. According to officials of the Nation of Islam, they know every believer who is doing time because so few of them get arrested.
A few words from our beloved leader and teacher.
Only 2 of the 108 registered Muslims at Clinton have ever heard the chief minister of the Nation of Islam speak in person. So at every meeting, portions of his teachings are played back for the believers.
I'm going to make him acknowledge.
Officers assigned to the Muslim meeting stay on the outside of the makeshift mosque walls, even though as many as 200 inmates may be gathered on the other side. The officer in charge tells why.
The followers of Wallace D. Muhammad, we have very few problems with them. All because of the discipline, I think, in their organization themselves. They're very strict on their own followers. They keep them neat and clean, and they tell them not to get into any trouble, and if they do, they usually try to take care of some of the problems themselves.
For 43 years, this sect of Muslims did teach and believe that Caucasians were blue-eyed devils, the enemy of the black man. This is no longer the case. Caucasians are now welcomed into the mosque. There are 3 registered Caucasian Muslims at Clinton.
The Muslim is trying to teach brotherhood, love. See, it's just like saying, if you could show 1/10 of the love that you show for a woman when you really fall in love with a woman, for your fellow man and for God, you'd have a great world here.
You ain't in no prison. The only prison that you can be in is in your mind. Is that understood? You can be on the corner of 115th Street, and if you're a dope fiend, you in a prison. Because the only thing you do is go to the cop man up on the roof in the shooting gallery, get off, go downtown and steal something, come back up, sell it, go back to the cop man. That's a prison.
At the height of their spiritual ecstasy, Muslims feel free of the bars that confine them and the guards who control them.
The only way you can be in prison is that your mind has been captured, right? There are many people that are in the so-called free world that should be where we are right now, right? Not in a compound environment, but in a spiritual environment. A spiritual environment that is dedicated to freedom, justice, and equality and the upliftment of humanity. Because if you're a racist, you're in prison, right? If you're a segregationist, you're in prison. If you are running around talking about you love everybody in the world and yet you can't even muster up enough love to love yourself and get out of some stinking slum, you're in prison. If you're living in the White House and you're doing things contrary to what a dignified order should be doing, then you're in prison. Anything contrary to the teachings of Almighty God Allah given to us by the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad is a prison.
Monday night here we'll take a look at women's liberation Muslim style in our continuing series on the Nation of Islam. Today is old-fashioned views of women. We'll take a look at those views tonight in our continuing exclusive series on the Nation of Islam and see how things have changed under the new leadership of Wallace D. Muhammad.
If you're weak, we weak.
Right.
If you're disgraced, we are disgraced.
Right.
If you are respected, we are respected. I say, wake up, black woman, wake up.
Right.
Show self-respect.
Right.
Elijah Muhammad was tough on his female followers. He called them Muslim girls and controlled every aspect of their lives, as would an overly protective father. He would not allow his girls to look any man straight in the eyes. He insisted that all dates be chaperoned. He punished anyone who dared to break his rules by giving them time out of the mosque. Master Elijah Muhammad's sentences were stiff. He'd dish out 1 to 5 years exile from Muslim society for wearing skirts shorter than the length he specified.
The messenger told us our hair was our crown and glory and attracted the men. Even at home, we had to cover our hair when strange men came in. And the white man, our Caucasian, must never see our hair. So we should keep our hair covered so so as not to tempt them or attract their attention.
Sisters in the nation are no longer required to cover their hair. The nation's new leader, Wallace D. Muhammad, is more interested in dressing his followers' minds than their bodies, so he's relaxing the Muslim dress code. Wallace Muhammad is the Gloria Steinem of the Muslim nation. He is leading his father's Muslim girls into full-fledged womanhood.
And as women, you should want to be modest women, because that's what a Muslim woman is. She's a modest woman. And being modest, that means you do not step out the door to attract the attention of the male in the wrong way. When a man sees a Muslim sister, he should think, well, that sister is attractive, but unattractive from here. He shouldn't look at her and say, well, oh, she's fine. I sure would like to hit on her.
Muslim women don't complain about not being able to wear tight-fitting pants and short dresses. According to them, their style of dress discourages men from dealing with them as sex objects.
So when you cover up, when you put on a long dress, you cover your hair and you walk around, not in such a way as to bring attention to your physical attributes, your bust, your thighs, how big your legs are, and all this kind of thing, then the man's going to stop and say, well, you know, let me check out a mind. And this is what it's all about. Because in Islam, we're taught that marriage is not a meeting of two bodies, but a marriage of minds. And so that's what we want to attract first. We want to say, well, she looks like a sister that has some order about herself.
Inside the mosque, the sexes are segregated. The women are always grouped behind the men. It's a custom dating back to the time of Prophet Muhammad, 1,400 years ago.
Everything in the mosque, the atmosphere, the environment should be conducive to spiritual and moral development. To make it the easiest as possible for the person to sit there and keep his mind on the lecture, we separate the sexes.
A Muslim woman is prohibited from praying to her God, Allah, during her menstrual period. It's viewed as a time when her body is cleansing itself of impurities. There are other restrictions on the Muslim woman during menstruation. She can't touch her Bible, and she can't have sexual contact with her husband. To an outsider, these practices might seem archaic, unliberated, but to Muslims, it's correct because it's religious law. Elijah Muhammad didn't want his Muslim girls in the public eye, so he did not appoint any female ministers between 1955 and 1975.
But you see,
Wallace Muhammad appointed this woman to the position of minister shortly after taking over the leadership of the nation, forging the way for women to become part of the male hierarchy of the Muslim nation. At a national ministers' meeting in Atlanta, Georgia, she was the only female in attendance. Presently, the nation's ministerial staff does not reflect membership in terms of sex. The nation is half female, yet there are only 25 sister ministers as compared to 500 brother ministers. At one time, women who worked in the nation were chained to typewriters, just as women were in the non-Muslim world. But Wallace Muhammad wanted to free his female followers out of secretarial slavery, so he began by appointing this woman as supervisor of the nation's newspaper plant.
add those corrections and we're ready.
Okay. I feel the chief minister appointed me because of my character or what my mind evidenced, not because of my physical appearance or whatever.
All of the department supervisors and 90% of the paper staff are male. She's had a few problems from men who don't like taking orders from a woman, but the solution was simple.
If there were any men here who had a difficulty accepting what he has given me to give to them, then I certainly believe in granting them the freedom to accept it or reject it. If they cannot obey, then certainly they can go elsewhere where they will not have to receive these instructions. But I don't compromise on instructions that the chief minister gives me, whether it be a man or a woman.
A contributing photographer to the nation's newspaper is Khalila Ali. The chief minister encouraged her to develop her hobby into a profession. At one time, education for Muslim women ended with high school graduation because their leader and teacher, Elijah Muhammad, didn't approve of his female followers going away to the white man's universities. So back then, Muslim women did one of two things after high school. They worked in the nation's businesses, or they got married and had children. This woman became the wife of Muhammad Ali as a teenager because of those teachings.
The first thing a Muslim woman is supposed to get married, you know, a young age.
Is that what you did?
That's right. You know, 17 years old, I was married, you know. And it happened so fast, you know, because I thought that was the first thing we were supposed to do. Get married, have your babies and children while you're young and grow up with them. You know, this is the lifestyle. This is what we were taught. And
how did you meet Muhammad Ali?
And Ali saw me in the school working on the bulletin board when I was very young. And I think he asked Herbert Muhammad, who was I, you know, and he said, this is Belinda. She'd been in the nation all her life. You know, he wanted to meet my mother and father. So he came over and met my mother and father. He said, I want to marry your daughter, you know. Actually, he never dated, you know, and he came on. The only date we had was to come in the presence of my mother and father and sit down and have dinner.
Were you in love then?
You can't be in love. How you gonna be in love? I admired the person, you know, for what he stood for, because he stood for Islam and he stood for helping Elijah Muhammad, and, you know, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and you know, that put a real good glow to me, you know. So that gave me a lot of admiration at that time. So I wasn't thinking of who this person was or what he was thinking about. All I knew is he was a lover of Islam and he wanted to spread the works of Islam. So this is how we came about.
Khalila Ali is now raising her 4 children fathered by Muhammad Ali without him. Ali got involved with another woman, so Khalila filed for divorce. According to her Bible, divorce is the most hateful thing to God.
Nobody likes to get divorced, but if you can't get along with that person, then that's what it requires, you know. So there's certain ways of pursuing these things. So that's in everybody's life. I'm not no special person, you know. I'm like everybody else. It happens every day. It's not no thing that, boom, wow, Khalil can divorce, wow, you know, and it's not no strange thing. Everybody does it. You know, I never thought of it happening this way, you know, but...
Marriage and motherhood are still cherished institutions in Muslim society.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim.
In accordance with the Islamic law.
And the law of the United States of America.
And the law of the United States of America.
In the presence of 2 witnesses and many others.
In the presence of 2 witnesses and many others.
I promise to be his faithful wife.
I promise to be his faithful wife.
Dr. Naeem Akbar and Sister Renee Mumin are united in
Islamic law forbids any type of sexual intimacy before marriage. So this couple went to their honeymoon suite as sexual strangers. It might seem old-fashioned for a woman to stay a virgin until marriage, but it had a liberating effect on her husband.
I was so impressed by the kind of dignity with which Muslim women carried themselves that I no longer even began to evaluate them in terms of the other criteria being how sexually attractive they were, how would they look as bed partners. Instead, I began to evaluate women on the basis of what kind of mother would that make for a child? What kind of companion would that make in terms of someone to be supportive with me, be conversant with me? What kind of person would that be in terms of a real human being to want to live the rest of my life with out of the bed?
We'd like to thank Mr. Ted Gray for the use of his still pictures in our report tonight. Tonight's segment touched briefly on Muhammad Ali and his marital troubles, and later this week we'll present a more in-depth report on Muhammad Ali and his years as a member of the Muslims. And tomorrow night we'll take a look at the troubled relationship between the Muslims and the followers of the man known as Malcolm X. Gained national recognition. Malcolm X was its spokesman then, and this is his story.
Muhammad makes it imperative that a black man who becomes a Muslim works. Right. Get off the welfare. Right. Get out of that compensation line. Right. Be a man.
Malcolm X was Elijah Muhammad's greatest public defender and disciple until he was suspended from the Nation of Islam for 90 days by his leader for describing the assassination of President John Kennedy as a case of the chickens coming home to roost. Animosity grew between the 2 leaders, and eventually they became rivals. From their respective camps, they waged a Cold War. The nation's newspaper depicted Malcolm as a Judas, a hypocrite, for going against his leader and teacher. The Cold War seemed to grow hotter when Malcolm's house was bombed. Malcolm X blamed the Muslims and reiterated his claims that the Muslims were out to get him. There were alleged assassination threats against Elijah Muhammad as well, so his followers attacked a suspected member of Malcolm X's rival black nationalist organization outside a hall where Muhammad himself was speaking. On February 21st, 1965, Malcolm X was silenced by a number of assassins whose bullets ripped through a podium to get to him. Some believe that Elijah Muhammad's orders had finally been carried out, but Elijah Muhammad denied any part in the murder. The day before Malcolm X was to be buried, Elijah Muhammad made his first public appearance since the assassination. The nation's leader was barely visible behind the human wedge of bodyguards. Master Elijah Muhammad cited Malcolm's fate as an example of what Allah would do to any Muslims who betrayed him.
If you would like to follow anyone against me, go ahead and do it. But your end will be pretty bad. I fear for you.
The police arrested 3 men. 2 of the alleged assassins identified themselves as active followers of Elijah Muhammad. When put on trial, they pleaded innocent, but both men were convicted of murder in the 1st degree and sent to prison for natural life. The burial of Malcolm X didn't end anything. He's still remembered. And the 2 Muslims who were convicted for murdering him are still behind bars. Neither of the Muslim inmates have spoken to the press in the 12 years since their conviction. So producer Sharon Sofer sought their permission to be interviewed and got it. She learned that both men are still maintaining their innocence. Both say it would have been impossible for them to get inside the Audubon ballroom where Malcolm was speaking when he was killed because of the hostility between the 2 organizations at that time.
All those people knew me. And if nothing else, they would have stopped me or searched me, or in any event, they would have known that I was there.
What would have happened had you tried to get into the Audubon ballroom?
At that time, well, I would probably have to have at least 2 machine guns.
I wasn't on trial. The Nation of Islam was on trial. I was just a piece that no one cared about.
So the government wanted to, the only way they figured they could smash Islam was to convict us. And I guess they figured that if they convicted us, they would convict the leader and teacher of the Nation of Islam.
Do you think that any Muslim men who had been accused of the crime would have been found guilty at that particular time?
It didn't make any difference whether it was me or anybody else.
The Corrections Department allowed the nation's new leader to meet with his 2 followers last spring so he could determine for himself if they are guilty or innocent.
I asked them question, I say, did you kill Malcolm X? Did you assassinate Malcolm X? He said, no sir, Brother Minister. I said, did you have any part in it? Did you help anyone? Were you with her? No sir, Brother Minister. I asked both of them the same questions. Both of them said, no sir, Brother Minister. And I didn't feel anything that was not the least hint to me of any guilt in these persons. I believe innocent people are in jail and the guilty are still outside.
Do you think that the cartoons that ran in Muhammad Speaks newspaper contributed to his assassination?
It was unwise for the Nation of Islam to use the language it used against Malcolm X, calling him a Judas, calling him a devil, putting horns on him, making him look like a devil in the paper. I didn't feel that those cartoons that I was seeing was really the Nation of Islam that I belonged to.
The chief minister is also critical of the way the nation's leadership used hatred of Malcolm to sell their newspapers.
Many of those unwise group leaders, they used Malcolm X to build this man up, to excite the man and drive him to do the job, to sell the paper. But at the same time, unknowingly, they was building that man up. If he saw Malcolm, perhaps he would have shot him if he had a gun. And some of them obviously got crazy enough, drunk enough in that kind of excitement to take a gun and shoot him.
Wallace Muhammad was thrown out of the nation by his father, who suspected Wallace of encouraging Malcolm to speak out against the Muslims.
He called me and he talked to me, and he said that I heard that you have fed Malcolm a lot of these ideas. So I said, well, I'm sure you know me, and I'm telling you I'm not responsible for Malcolm's behavior or for what he's done. As you recall, Malcolm said he went to Mecca, and that's when he got his new ideas. He didn't say that Wallace D. Muhammad gave him his new faith, you see. He said he went to Mecca. And what could I have told Malcolm that he couldn't have learned by reading any book on Islam, you know?
The day before Malcolm's funeral, Wallace Muhammad made an apology to his father's followers so they would accept him back into the nation.
Brothers and sisters, I'm thankful to be present here today to, in truth, make a confession of guilt for having made public a dispute that I should have taken privately with my father. He sent my brother to me. He said, Dad said, come on and see him at the house. He's going to accept you back. So I visited him. He welcomed me. He smiled. He said, prodigal son, I'm happy to see you back home. Stay home with your dad. He said, the law is that you should go before the following and make a statement. So I did it because I wanted to do it. My presence was needed to keep the movement together.
Do you believe that your father ever ordered the assassination of Malcolm X?
No, never. I don't believe it, and I would never accept that he ordered any assassination. And I'll tell you why I don't believe that. Because during the history of the Nation of Islam, I recall, well, as a young child, the first one I recall was his own brother, who he charged with trying to take the movement from him. Kalat, my uncle Kalat. He always would tell us that he's a hypocrite, we can't accept him among us, but he would warn the followers. Say, don't do anything physical harm to him, don't bother him. Say, Allah will take care of him.
Do you think Elijah Muhammad had any connection with the assassination of Malcolm X?
No, I don't.
Do you have any idea who killed Malcolm X?
No, I don't.
Do you have any idea who did assassinate Malcolm X?
No, I wish I did. I wish I did, because 12 years, that's no joke. You know, 12 years is 12 years. I just wish I did.
Governor Kerry is said to be considering a request to commute the sentences of the accused killers of Malcolm X, and tomorrow, in our continuing exclusive series on the Nation of Islam, we'll meet some white people who have joined the nation since membership was open to Caucasians about 18 months ago. Red Devils, a race created from the weak genes of black people by a mad scientist named Yaqub. But the nation's new leader, Wallace Muhammad, now identifies that teaching as myth, not fact, and has opened membership in the Nation of Islam to whites for the first time in its 43-year history.
When the Nation of Islam was all black, some members hated Caucasians.
I would say to myself, look at that old blue-eyed devil, skunk of the planet. I'd be glad when God destroyed all.
When Elijah Muhammad died and his son Wallace became the new leader, he told the nation's Muslims to stop calling whites devils. And almost overnight, the attitudes of his followers changed.
Oh, it's a brand new ball game today. The Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad has taught us that it's not a person's complexion that you have to look out for, it's a person's mind.
18 months ago, Wallace Muhammad opened the doors of the nation's 200 mosques to all races. Today, there are nearly 1,000 Caucasian Muslims.
I would like to send my greetings to our leader and teacher, the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad of Absalom.
This is a picture of the brother that brought me into the nation and my son, and this is the chief minister. Those three people have taught me more than anybody else that I've ever known in my entire life.
Some blacks didn't want to share brotherhood with whites, so they left the nation. But that didn't bother the nation's new leader.
The majority of those that we lost were never really belonging to the Nation of Islam. They only accepted the idea of black supremacy. The Caucasian members are proving to be as good as many, and perhaps better than many, of the non-Caucasian members.
I had an officer here tell me that I should hire myself out to a manure farm because I became a Muslim. And I said, well, sir, I didn't realize that you were so perfect. You know, and I just cut it because you can't say too much. Because if you say too much, you're only going to get locked up. I had one inmate that asked me if I joined the Muslims, and he says, what are you doing with those niggas? And I said, do you understand what the definition of nigger means? If you did, you wouldn't be calling yourself names, and I walked away.
According to nation records, Caucasian membership is growing fastest in the prisons. So apparently, jailhouse harassment isn't having much of an effect. In the 18 months that membership has been open to white people, nearly 400 Caucasian inmates have joined.
There was a lot of misunderstanding when they heard the word Muslim. You know, they get this impression of a rebellious, militant person. Now all my friends accept it, and they're still my friends.
This woman is a Muslim minister. She was one of the first whites to be accepted by the nation. Now, she's among the most visible Caucasians.
Some people have asked me, well, will you go out and get all the Caucasians you can get? Well, no. Whoever comes, comes. And you just, maybe I can show something to some people who do have a desire, who didn't think they could come in and can't. Maybe that will be one of the consequences.
Sister Fardan holds a PhD in sociology. She could be a professor at a university, earning a handsome salary. Instead, she teaches 9th graders at the Nation School in Chicago with no pay. When Sister Fardan met her husband at a Black Panther meeting in the 1960s, she was already an admirer of Elijah Muhammad, the nation's leader at that time.
He had the courage to stand up in America and call, not individuals, but he called all of white America, he called them a devil. And collectively, what had happened through the history of America was a devilish history. So I like that. That was courage. And I really felt that he had the truth that we needed in this country.
Did you ever feel that he was referring to you or including you in that term as being devilish? Or
well, yes, of course. When you read and you know that, you know, well, all right, I'm Caucasian. But the way I used to think about that and try to handle it was, you see, you know yourself within, and within I knew I was not a devil. I may not be a perfect person, but I knew I was not a devilish person. So I knew that there was more to it.
In the name of God. The current crop of Caucasian Muslims may go down in history as 20th century pioneers for settling into the camp of the black Muslims at a time when just the name itself, Black Muslim, strikes terror in the hearts of white Americans.
I was terrified, but I didn't allow it to show. I was apprehensive because it was someplace that I had never been, and I was a little unsure of how I would be received. But the sisters very quickly put me at ease. They took me right into the sisterhood. They put me to work, and we got along very well. And I have some very, very good friends because of that. When a Muslim is your friend, you know that they're really your friend. They're sincere. And that's something that's hard to find nowadays. Never in the entire history of our country have we been able to come together on a common ground. And it's so important because all the fears and anxieties and hatreds and all the things that are very much against us as human beings, they just fall by the wayside, because when you come face to face with another human being, you recognize that person as a human being. And that's so important, because we're all alike.
Being Muslim means a lot to this woman. That became obvious when she began explaining the meaning of her Islamic holy name, which has replaced her original name of Carla Louise Peters.
I now have a beautiful name, a holy name.
She tried to hold back the tears, but could not, even though she's been conditioned as a Muslim not to show her emotions to an outsider.
My name means grateful. My name is now Alima Kawi Shakur. Alima means the knower. Kawi means strong. And Shakur means the grateful, the thankful. And I am very grateful to have that name and to be a member of the Nation of Islam.
Tomorrow night here we'll present a report on the nation's prize convert and most controversial Muslim, Mr. Muhammad Ali. Now here's Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali is pretty. People have domestic problems when I come around with my beautiful golden brown physique, my long trim legs and my beautiful arms and my pretty nose and mouth. I know I'm a pretty man. I know I'm pretty. You don't have to tell me I'm pretty.
Muhammad Ali has a mighty mouth. It started revving up the first time he heard the teachings of the black Muslims.
As soon as I walked in, I heard the man say, you got a white man hanging on the wall, call him Jesus, call him God. Your Lord's Supper's white, your Jesus white, all your angels is white. Angel food cake is even made white, everything good was white. And devil food cake was chocolate. And if I threaten you, I'm gonna blackmail you. You put out a fraternity group, you get blackballed. and everything was black. And white out cigars, white Swan soap, King white soap, white cloth tissue paper, white rain herrings, white tornado flow wax, everything good was white. And he says, we've been brainwashed. I say, hey man, this is the truth. I never heard that before. And it went on farther and farther and farther. And that's when I heard it, I started talking. I found out that rich dirt is black dirt, strong coffee is black, black of the bird sweet juice. I found out black ain't bad, and I started talking. I am the greatest, I'm pretty. I couldn't go tell the white man I'm mad at the way you tricked us, so I said I make him mad. I am the greatest, because they don't like niggas talk like that. I'm pretty, I'm all the fear left, man. I just got free. I can whoop any man alive. They said, nigger talks too much. I said, I'm pretty, look at me, look at my complexion, I'm pretty. I'm the greatest. They had me thinking Miss America was the prettiest, Miss Universe was the prettiest, Miss World was the prettiest. All of them was white. Tarzan, king of the jungle in Africa, he was even white. Oh, look how pretty I am. I'm the greatest, my confidence, all this comes from the Muslim teaching. No other black man or so-called Negro in this country has ever been so proud and so determined and so sure of himself and so fearless around whites and whoever it is to say what he wants to say, go where he want to go. This teaching is freeing me.
This is a gift, our leading teacher, for waking all of us up because we were in a bad state of condition before we heard him.
The boisterous braggadocio Ali gives way to a humbler Ali in the presence of the leaders of the Nation of Islam. When Ali was with Elijah Muhammad, he gave his mouth a rest and listened.
I'm not promoting a fight or clowning when I'm with a man from God. Why would I want to go to this table talking like I do? You just go there and listen and answer questions if he asks it and make it as short as possible and always try to talk in a tone under his, no louder, and total respect.
Convention and claimed new support in their fight for black supremacy. At the group's convention in Chicago, Elijah Muhammad came closer than anyone so far in proclaiming Clay a member of the black Muslims.
When reporters first suspected that Muhammad Ali was going to join the Nation of Islam, it created quite a stir. The black Muslims were less than popular at the time. Muhammad Ali decided to identify himself as a Muslim in spite of the consequences because of something Elijah Muhammad once told him.
He says, deny not the truth while you know it. And just before I fought Sonny Liston, a reporter asked me at the time, are you a black Muslim? That's when we were looked at as boogermen and trying to overthrow the government and haters of white people and got to go out and cut off white people's heads to be members. And the reporter asked me, are you a Muslim? And I heard Elijah Muhammad's voice say, deny not the truth while you know it. He said, are you Muslim? I said, yes, sir. You mean you admit on this show you one of those black Muslims? I says, yes, sir. It's not black, it's just Muslim. Well, you're going to hurt the fight. You might not fight Liston. I said, well, let them take the fight. Let them take all the money. And ever since then, I've never looked back.
Ali claims he does not mix sport and religion, yet he relies on his faith during training and in the ring. While in training for the Norton fight last September, Ali listened to tape recordings of lectures made by the nation's chief minister.
Whenever I hear these spiritual lectures and listening to these words of inspiration and words of truth and knowledge, which I've never heard before, it makes me happy, it makes me have more to live for, it makes me want to win.
In the ring, Ali prays to his God, Allah, before the contest begins.
Pray to win so that I can do all I can for the cause of God and also for people, movements. We live in a world where if you don't have a name, if you don't have fame, if you don't have no money, you're nobody. So I use boxing as a stepping stone. Boxing is just to introduce me to the world, and since so much is involved and so much can come through boxing, this is why I pray for success.
There isn't a place in the world that Muhammad Ali can't go. His success in the ring has made him the crown prince of popularity, and that makes him the nation's prize convert.
Would you like to have him in your ministry?
Yes, I would, because he's the most popular man I know. And if he will represent Islam, he would do us more good than Bilalian newspapers all over the world.
Muhammad Ali is not eligible for the ministry right now, however, because of his marital troubles. His Muslim wife, Khalila, filed divorce against him because of his relationship with this woman, Veronica Porsche. She and Ali are the parents of an illegitimate daughter.
What is the current standing of Muhammad Ali in the Nation of Islam? Is he allowed to come into the mosque?
At one time, he was not allowed to come to the mosque here in Chicago. He hadn't divorced Khalila, and he was bringing Veronica to the mosque. So this caused a lot of confusion. So I asked him to stay away until he could settle his problems with Khalila. We still don't want to see him bring Veronica to the mosque if he, Veronica, and Khalila is going to be there.
It's my understanding that adultery is against the laws of Islam.
Yeah.
And why then was he not put in a class for punishment?
Many of the followers, and especially those who knew of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's polygamous life, felt that polygamy was accepted even in America. And since they couldn't get their wives to agree with it, some of them, and none of them can get the judge or the preacher to change the laws, you see. So they say, well, we do it like Elijah Muhammad, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we'll take on another wife. So there are brothers who have taken on a second wife. Muhammad Ali wasn't the first one.
Is it something that you allow, that you condone for a man to have more than one wife?
No, I don't condone it, but I allow it. I allow that a man can take on a second wife and attend the mosque. Now, he'll never be put in a position of authority, and if we learn that ministers or people in position of authority have more than one wife, which is illegal here in the United States, they will lose their positions.
Ali can't seem to decide whether he should become a full-time crusader for Islam or keep the gloves on and continue making millions of dollars. In early October, Ali announced his retirement from the ring. He was in Turkey at the time with Wallace Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam.
He had just come from the fight, from his victory over Norton, you know. There's still a question in the mind of some people whether he really won that fight or not. He said, Brother Minister, I'm tired of this life. So this is no life for a man like me. He said, Brother Minister, I should be helping you teach. That's what I want to do. He said, if you would just ask me to put down fighting, he said, I'll do it. Okay. First time he told me this, I listened to him, but I said, maybe the man's just talking, you know. Maybe he's not really serious. Muhammad Ali came back and asked me the same thing again. So right there in Turkey, he asked me, and right there before the press, I did what he said. I got up and gave him a little help, you know. But after giving it to him, I saw that he really wasn't ready.
Mighty Mouth's lips are sealed for a change on the subject of Turkey, and retiring at least. But if we had to speculate, we'd guess that the controversy over Ali's statement in Turkey has been inspiration for him. The desire for controversy is what brought Ali to the nation.
I just wanted to be different. I didn't want to be Uncle Tom, T-Show, and Negro. Everybody like, I want to be a rebel. But Jesse James, the White Earp. So my way was being unpopular as a Muslim. If you're not going to like me to that, the hell with you. So I wanted them, if they didn't like me, then good, because I knew I was right and I believed in what I was doing.
Tomorrow evening, live in our studio, we'll have the Honorable Wallace D. Muhammad, the Chief Minister of the Nation of Islam, for the wrap-up of our series. It was a lot of work putting this series together, and for that I would like to thank the staff people who worked with our producer, Sharon Silver. They include Jim Malloy, Mario Martinez, Bob Gonzalez, and Willie Loman Jr. for the filming, and Kathy Field, Ken Shea, and Peter O'Grady for the editing. And tomorrow night, a live interview with the Chief Minister of the Nation of
Ali, Muhammad Ali. Well, for the next 3 nights, our Topic A is going to find out more about the real Ali. Producer Sharon Sofer, who also reports this series, spent several days with Muhammad and his family at their home in Chicago after Ali lost his heavyweight championship title of the world to Leon Spinks.
As I approached the 19-room Ali mansion, a tune I once heard 2 women singing in praise of the greatest sneaked back into my head.
Now here's a man who's the people's choice. Let's give a cheer for Muhammad Ali. He floats like a butterfly, sings like a bee, the champion he was destined to be. He's a natural on his feet. Come on and watch him shuffle to the beat. He punches like Lewis and comes back like Moore, and shakes like Sugar Ray and dance the floor. Let's make it known to the land. Muhammad Ali is a businessman.
Yes, ma'am. May I help you?
Yes, I'm Sharon Suffer from NBC in New York. I have an appointment with Muhammad Ali.
Yes, ma'am. Will you step right in? We're expecting you.
Under a portrait of himself and his current wife, Veronica, the People's Choice was sitting right there in the entranceway, holding their 20-month-old daughter, Hannah. A nursemaid, carrying the youngest Ali daughter in her arms, passed through the room quickly and quietly. I took a seat on the grand old staircase that leads to the 2 floors of the Ali home up above. Muhammad passed daughter Hannah from his arms to someone else's, which she didn't like one bit. When the phone started to ring, Rahman Ali, Muhammad's brother and employee, could have answered them, but Muhammad prefers to do it himself. He told me why.
I have to learn to say no, so it wouldn't help me to really not answer the phone. This is why I welcome people to the door. I may answer all the phones because I'm fighting a battle within myself to say no to people and to refrain from things I shouldn't do.
When Muhammad picked up the morning newspaper and started reading, I decided to ask him, you know, there are some people who think you can't read. Did you know that? Did you know there are some people who think you cannot read?
Is that right?
I'm telling you the truth. Right before I came here, there were some people who asked me to ask you if you can read.
No, I can't read. I'm not going to embarrass myself. And let people know I can't read. I cannot read. I just hire all the people who can read. I cannot read. I just hire all those great college students who go to college and study for years, get masters and PhDs. I hire them and I pay them, but I can't read. I bet you they wish they couldn't read too. No, I can't read. I'll make $5 million in my next fight for one night's work. I got that by being dumb.
But I saw you reading this morning.
Yeah, I'm reading now. Reading right now. I read slow. He replied that he appreciated Holmes' interest, but he is not doing him right. Don King, he is not Don King. He's not Don King's fighter.
Ali was still busy proving to us that he can't read when a sightseeing bus pulled up out front. The Ali mansion is a regular stop on every tour. When 2 of the people got off the bus to take a closer look, Ali couldn't resist going to meet them, so out we went.
Where are you from?
From Nigeria. How do you
Nigeria?
Yes.
Nigeria, nice seeing you.
Yes, nice to meet you.
This is a surprise.
For me too.
Yeah.
An unexpected surprise.
Nice seeing you. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm Omaha.
Are you from Omaha?
The woman from the Midwest and the Muslim man from Nigeria were just leaving as 40 screaming, squealing high school students from Iowa poured out of another bus.
You came by just in time.
Thank you.
Hi, pretty girl. Came by just in time.
Hi.
You got it just in time. We just happened to be making a few films. Smile, you on candid camera. Smile, you on candid camera. How you doing? We just having, you all enjoy. First time in Chicago? First time here?
I don't believe it.
You don't believe it?
No.
I don't believe it either. I come right here every day.
There's 2 more movies, 2 more celebrities are here. I should go get them. Clint Eastwood and Robert Redford. You want to see them? April.
In addition to signing each and every autograph request he got, Ali took it upon himself to guide a truck driver through the traffic jam in front of his house.
It's okay.
The kids from Iowa watched and waited, so Ali gave them the biggest thrill of all.
Bye-bye, everybody. I can't hear you. Bye-bye.
On Topic A tomorrow night, there'll be another visit with Muhammad Ali when he discusses himself as a father and a family man. Ali, who shouts and clowns to promote those multi-million-dollar fights. But few people have seen the other side of Ali, which is quiet, private, and thoughtful. That's the side of Muhammad Ali that you'll see tonight in Topic A when he discusses himself as a father and a family man. Ali has been married 3 times. He's the father of 6 children. Producer Sharon Sofer, who interviewed Ali at his Chicago home after he lost the title, said that Ali is as gentle... Got the wrong page. Is as gentle with his children as he is rugged with his opponents in the ring. All of Ali's children but 1 are girls, and like any father, Muhammad is concerned about the day when his little girls will grow into young women and start dating.
Ain't nothing you can do about it but watch them go and hope you can train them right, because somebody's going to talk them out from under you. I paid all that money, bought all them clothes, paid all that college bill. Some little poor dude with an old raggedy Ford, hey, baby, got his hair parted, what's happening? And take on out of there. She said, Dad, I'm grown, I'm in love. I hate to think it, but it's going to happen. I stole somebody else's daughter. Daughters.
The first woman Muhammad Ali married was a nightclub performer. Their marriage lasted only 11 months because she had difficulty adhering to the strict Muslim religion to which her husband had become so devoted. Ali chose a dedicated second-generation Muslim for his next wife. 17-year-old Belinda Boyd was educated in Muslim schools, so she had no problems abiding by such things as the Muslim dress code. The handsome couple's marriage, which gave birth to 3 daughters and a son, lasted for 9 years. A divorce from that woman cost Ali $2 million, but it left him free to marry a 3rd time, so that's just what he did. About 1 year ago, Muhammad married Veronica Porsche, a woman he met during the Foreman fight in Zaire, Africa, 1974. Veronica was a runner-up in the poster girl contest for the fight, but to the champ, she was a real winner. What attributes does Veronica have that make you love her?
Well, all that's private, but in short, I've never heard her say a word of profanity. Not one word of no type of profanity. Never as much as yelled or screamed or raised her voice. And if I raise mine, she'll cry like a little girl, hurts her so. I mean, never have I seen a person so good and angelistic.
What do your children mean to you?
Well, the only thing keeps me going now is my children. Saving money for them, buying stocks and bonds. I'm always putting money in the bank. Whenever I fight or do a TV show, whatever, make a few $100,000, whatever, I take so much of this one, that one, put the word. It can't be touched into their age. When they're of age, it goes to them in the form of money to go to college, tuition, whatever they need. So I'm always putting up money. Our cars and the diamonds and the fun I've had. All I do now, if I wind up busted without a quarter, if Muhammad Ali or Reed went broke or went bankrupt or he spent his money, he gave it away, I will be able to say that all of my children, when they hit the age of 18, they each will be wealthy.
What are the most important things that you would like to teach your children?
So the main thing I think they should do is to help the child find his purpose. See, everything God created has a purpose. The moon has a purpose, the rain, the snow, dogs, cats, rats, mice. There's nothing on this planet, regardless of how large or insignificant, it's here for purpose. And most surely God's highest form of life, which is us, he loved us so much he made us in his own image and likeness. So most of all, we have a purpose. Now, the wise man, the wise woman is he or she who know the life purpose. 10 people with the knowledge of the purpose are more powerful than 1,000 working from sun to sundown not knowing the purpose. So I think it's important to teach a child to find his purpose. I was determined to be the world's heavyweight champion and the world's most famous human. That was really my goal when I was 12. I wanted to be the most famous man in the world, and I wanted to be and anything it took to get to that purpose, then I'd do it.
What is it that you're determined to do now?
I'm determined to be the first man to regain the title for the 3rd time Floyd Patterson was the first man to regain the heavyweight title after losing it. I was the second man to regain after losing it. Nobody have ever thought about, even said that he, they never thought that, nobody never imagined a man winning the title back 3 different times at this age. So now I got a miracle to perform. I got something to do now. Time magazine, the greatest is gone. And Al Cosell, Angelo Dundee, my Dr. Pacheco, all the main people, champ, just hang them up. These are my closest people said hang them up. Now really determined.
Did it hurt you when they told you to hang up? Your closest friends?
No. It gave me something to go for now.
Oh, that made you more determined.
I like to be underdog. It's hard. I'm got so great, so pretty. I'm always the favorite. I'm always winning. It's a drag. Now I'm not the champ. Now I'm trying to get something back. That's what I need, the drive.
So if you win back the title...
If I win back. I told you I'm determined if I win back. I'm so determined. I don't be saying if. We will destroy Sphinx this time like we should have did the first time, but we will this time.
So under coercion, I'll say, when you win back the title...
That's right. There ain't gonna be no problem. That's the attitude you take. Won't be no problem. That's the attitude we take.
Okay. So when you win back the title the 3rd time...
You're not as dumb as you look.
What will be left for you to do then?
Well, I'll make you the Lady Howard Cosell.
Oh, that would be nice.
Tomorrow night on Topic A, Muhammad Ali will discuss his recent loss of the heavyweight championship title of the world to Leon Spinks, as well as his plans to be the first man in the history of the world to win that title back for us.
The heavyweight title, the newcomer Leon Spinks. The world expected Ali to retire. But that wasn't the game plan, according to Ali. Instead of throwing in the towel, Ali signed for a September the 15th rematch with Spinks. And according to producer Sharon Sofer, who recently interviewed Ali at his home in Chicago, Ali enjoys being the underdog because he says it gives him the energy he needs to become the first man in the history of the world to win the heavyweight championship 3 times.
I'm going to show the world I am the greatest of all times. They think I'm finished. Boy, I'm going to come back. Oh, Time magazine, the greatest is gone. Hi, Angelo Dundee, give it up, champ. My Dr. Pacheco, give it up, champ. My own people think I'm gone. Now I'm going to show the world I'm truly the king. They're going to say we didn't know, but he is the greatest of all times.
Ali proved that he is the greatest of all times the night he lost his title to Leon Spinks. When the final bell rang, an exhausted Ali dragged himself back to his corner, while the young Spinks, the new heavyweight champion of the world, rejoiced.
Come see your mother. We got it. Come on, we got it. Come on, we got it. Take it easy.
Leon showed more respect for Muhammad at the post-fight press conference than he had in the ring.
I'm the lady. I ain't the greatest. That's the greatest. I'm the lady.
The greatest wasn't looking so great, but he displayed championship qualities by being very gracious to the man who had just beaten him.
I'm glad for one thing, you, like I did, proved the press all wrong. Proved them all wrong. If I fought Sonny Liston, I upset the world, and you upset the world too.
A couple of weeks after the fight, I interviewed Muhammad at his home in Chicago. He explained to me why he believes in being a gracious loser.
How'd I look in my corner after the fight? And the one new champion, Leon Spinks. And they come over to me, champ, how do you feel? I lost my title. Now all my supporters, all my fans, they cry because I cry. Here comes the planes in bad turbulence. And you saw the worst thing was scary is the pilot said, we're gonna crash. Okay, oh Lord help me. I see the pilot did it, I die. But the pilot says, don't worry about it, ladies and gentlemen. That's just a little turbulence. Maybe it's gonna crash, but don't let the people know it. It's kind of choppy out here. It looks like, no worry about it. We had this a couple of times. The plane's made to take much more. I feel a little better. But if I see the pilot, we're gonna die. I don't want to die. He really killed me. So all my supporters, all my followers, they see me crying. I love you. They'll die. But when I said, don't worry about it, I just made a mistake. Next time I lose weight, I'm going to come back. I came back with Frazier, came back with Norton, came back with Foreman. I'm the greatest of all times. Don't worry, I shall return. They said, he going to return. They feel better.
What is your reaction to the World Boxing Council taking away Spinks's title?
So what's that? Ain't that silly taking away his title? The man just beat me fair and square. He's the champion. On a vacation, probably. Take his title for what? And if he waited a year and didn't fight nobody, yeah, take it. He haven't had time to rest yet. That's the worst thing that been done. They've never done nothing like that before in history.
Why do you think they did it?
Because they don't want me to get it back. Stage is setting there for me to come back for a third time. And that Suleiman don't like me and my image of greatness. I'm so much bigger than his organization and the whole boxing game. And if then Spinks fight me, that's going to give me a chance to come back and whoop him. They know I can do better. People know I can probably beat him if I can be serious. So they know the thing stage and then set for me to go serious, win my time for a third time, and retire and have a record that nobody can top. Now, if they give it to Norton and they cut up, figuring I'm going to get it. So that's why they gave it to Norton, because they don't want me to have another shot at it. But they can't stop it because the name Muhammad Ali is too big. The money speaks, and I'm the one to draw the money, and I'm the one to do all the interviews.
So, now with the...
Don't point at me like that. Last fight one point at me like that and said, nigga, go clean up the toilet. Don't do like that. Well, I told you not to point at me like that.
When half of the when half of the championship belongs to Norton and the other half belongs to Spinks, how do you get both halves together? Do you have to fight Spinks and win that and then fight Norton?
Norton's unreal. I'm the real champion, Spinks. He beat me. We don't need Norton.
So there can be two heavyweight champions?
They can take that champion and go somewhere else and do what they're going to do, and I'll take my title. Or Spinks will win. We'll go do what we want. I bet you they'll drop and starve before us and come back knocking our door before we knock on their door. We don't need them, because me and Spinks, as of now, are the greatest of all times. They're going, I can put somebody else in there. In the term, it's supposed to be just me.
At 5 a.m. the next morning, I met Muhammad at his home to go do some road work. After a few warm-ups, off we went. The sun was just rising, but Muhammad was already blazing. So your afterburners are going to burn out this time?
My afterburners will not burn out, because I'm getting them ready. I'm filling my tanks right now. Getting ready. Spinks, well, if you're watching this film, be in shape, boy, because I shall return.
I'll tell you what, Muhammad,
I shall return.
You can talk more than I can jog.
I'll see you later, baby. That's what you get when I've been in shape, drinking them cocktails and partying all night. You should be training. A young girl like you, she's 32, I'm 36. She's tired. Ain't that a shame? Look at her. She's out. Well, that's my first knockout. Now I got my Spinks out and I'll be straight. Boy, if she was just Spinks, I'll be the champ now. I'm gonna show the world I am the greatest of all times. They think I'm finished. Boy, I'm gonna come back. Oh, Time magazine, the greatest is gone. Hi, Angelo Dundee, give it up, champ. My Dr. Pacheco, give it up, champ. My own people think I'm gone. Now I'm gonna show the world I'm truly the king. They're gonna say we didn't know, but he is the greatest of all times. Of all times. Greatest of all times.
We'll be having more of our series of interviews with Muhammad Ali later this month.